Hello, I'm Tricia Pine, and welcome to Rejoice in Your Voice Masterclass. I am so excited to introduce to you Jennifer Urezzio. She is the founder of Soul Language. She is a teacher, she is a speaker, and she is an author. And before we reveal elements of her new book that's set to come out the first week of February, I want you to learn a little bit more about Jennifer. Thanks, Jennifer, for being here.
Oh, it's really an honor, especially because it's you. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. It's a joy to see your smiling faces today. All right, I was looking through some of your work, and while I know you and adore you, I found a couple things that just kind of, I want people to know more about that. The first one was your mission is to really connect people more to themselves, to other people, and to the divine. And then I realized it wasn't always that way for you. So this quote, you're like, no, not at all. This quote is what you said. You said, I spent years fighting the system and trying to live by other people's rules. I believed that I was not enough and that the divine didn't love me. That all changed when I accepted that I am a renegade. I am lucky that I get to guide spiritual renegades to accept their truth and create a profound connection with themselves, others, and the divine. The results are they feel safe and know that they are enough to be in the spotlight, and they understand that the divine has their back and they thrive. Jen, I can tell you that so many people in this room right now can connect with so many elements of that. They're going to the auditions and they want to land the job, or they're speaking and they really want that heart connection to their audience. They're trying to play by the rules, but they're feeling really stuck. And I think a lot of singers and speakers feel that they are a renegade. They are rebellious in their career. They're fighting for something bigger. So tell us about your defining moment.
Well, first of all, they have to be a renegade, right? They have to have that bigger than themselves belief. I mean, just to quote Jim Carrey's like, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew it was going to. And that confidence, that fearlessness, that takes an internal resource because you're not going to get it externally. I think some defining moments for me were, those moments where I was totally caught off guard. Meaning I was thinking it was going to be one thing and it really turned out to be something much better.
Okay.
I was really angry. I felt really alone. I had this sense of bigness. I had this sense of purpose, but I didn't know how to get there. Mm-hmm. And what I did was I started really listening to those internal prompts of, wait, let's pause. Let's ask some internal questions here. Let's see what's willing to take shape. And then there were those times where, I just kind of hunkered down and faced my fears and, did that warrior through it style. Mm-hmm. That's only good for a number of years. And then you're kind of going to get exhausted. I think the thing that I want everyone to know in my big moments where it wasn't a golden ticket. We all look for, especially for your people, they look for that, I'm discovered at Schwab's. I don't even know if that exists anymore. But do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen like that. There's no such thing as an overnight success.
Right.
It's those little moments that lead up to that big golden ticket. And, what I want everyone to remember is that every opportunity is an opportunity for you to first tap into that hugeness internally, which you talk about so beautifully, and then that can be resonated outward. It's that moment where you talk about kind of that singing in here thing. Yeah. It's that when you connect with here, it's going to flow. It's going to come out. And whatever way you need to get there, whatever system, whatever internal process, whatever connection tool, let's set you up with a tool that resonates for you, so you can connect with it on a daily basis. Because we all know that your people, even though they might not fully believe it, they can sing and they're talented, right? That's not the issue.
Right.
The issue is honing that skill and getting the insight to line up with that unbelievable talent. I was watching this great 60-minute show last night about this woman who's doing this play in Harlem about over 50s. Mm-hmm. And she was going to get these singers and do stories with these singers. These amateur singers who are like earth-shattering. Their stories were so much more profound than what she could come up with.
Sure.
To tune into that profundity. Use the fear for your singing, not against it. Use it as fuel. So that's what I learned from all my little mishaps, pain, experiences, and sometimes some trauma. Yeah.
Sure. You know, when you're speaking, what comes up for me, because when you talk about starting to listen to those inner prompts, I think that takes practice as well, because I know for me, sometimes I'd be like, well, is that a good prompt or is that a bad prompt? And so I think you're right. It kind of takes cultivating some of that listening and practicing, like building a muscle as well, because sometimes it seems really clear, but then, oh my gosh, maybe that wasn't. But it's that constant kind of being present and assessing and feeling your way through it, right? And finding that inner in there. When you talk about fear, you know, in the business, a lot of people say, some people say, you know, fear isn't necessary. Some people say, absolutely, you have to have fear. What's your take on fear? Do we need it?
Well, I think fear is one thing that's going to always come up. It's not like something you can eradicate. Okay. You can utilize it to help you turn towards something bigger, or you can utilize it as a way to shrink yourself. So it's going to come up. You know, I don't believe anyone is fearless. I think that even the Dalai Lama has fear. He just uses his intention and his focus and his power a lot better than anyone else on this planet, right? So it's what you do with that fear. So when the fear comes up, I always practice the pause. So am I going to get on the train to Fearville where I can consume by it? I have real estate there. I think I own condos there, right? I have a nice little place by the sea, right?
Right.
Or I'm going to pause and tune into that, even if it's small, that knowing, that knows that you are bigger than anything you can come in contact with. And that's true. It does take practice. And I think where people kind of fall down is that moment where, well, I was listening and it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. We've all had those experiences. And honestly, that sucks. There's no way around it. And I would like to say, okay, so here's A, B, C, D, why what you felt or saw didn't fully, manifest. There's no rhyme or reason. Not only do you have free will, but the entire universe has free will. And it's about building that muscle and going, okay, so I heard that. Let's tweak that. Where were the little tiny red flags that I didn't see? And we all forget those experiences are building or unfolding our greater self. And when we're in it, it's hard to kind of get that. We need to kind of, let's sit back and really ask ourselves, what did we learn? What did we gain?
Right.
To let go of, It's again, you just don't, for me anyway, you just don't pick out a song and go, okay, it's brilliant, right? You practice it. It becomes part of you. You listen to it. You see where in your body you don't feel it. These are all things that will help you tune into that inner knowing. Use all those skills that you use to train your voice on the inner knowing.
Yes.
I think that's what's beautiful about that connection with voice work.
Right. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful segue into what I wanted to ask you about next, because I think that we speaker singers really want to connect with the audience. So, feeling that in here, going here first, like you said. So how do you help people connect to others? I mean, I know for me, I have to work on the inside job first, and then I can connect. So if we're doing that, and we're like, okay, I'm doing the transformational work, I'm doing all these things, I'm really listening to my gut, but I'm still feeling like my message or my song, my mission is falling short. Where should people go next?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is, okay, so there's an energy field between you and everything on this planet. So you're in a relationship with everything on this planet. And so the first thing I talk about when I help people receive from a movement, because that's exactly what you're talking about, right, is what you're putting into that energy field. And it can be very subtle. So if we're putting into that energy field, I need this person to respond so I feel this way, which is so subtle, right?
Right.
That is going to keep that distance between you and your audience.
Right.
And so what are you putting into the energy field? How do you need them, not want them, need them to respond? The need is lack. And that's always going to twist it a little. One of my, I think, most profound experiences was going to Fleetwood Mac, right? And I'm high. I'm in the bleachers, like nosebleeds, right? And she gets on that stage and she sings Landslide. Her range of her voice is not what it was. Sure. And they have to shrink the song. Okay, who cares?
That's right.
She starts to sing. And really, do we know what those words mean? I have no clue. Right? But she starts to sing, and the entire stadium is singing that. Why? Because that song, whatever it means, hits us in such a way that we have to respond.
Yeah.
Right? It's connecting with that essence inside yourself and going, okay, I'm going to put that into the relationship field. Not because I need you to respond so I feel validated, but because I'm connecting to that universal theme. That's why music's so powerful, because it touches people in so many ways that we couldn't even understand.
Right.
You know, so the first thing I want everyone to know is to set the intention for your soul to speak to their soul, and then let it go.
Great.
And see what happens. And the more that you can let go of attachment, you know, the needing, the more powerful you are going to be. And I'm really good at helping people do that in their lives. And my growing space always is to do that with you, with song.
Right.
So, you know, the more that I do that here, the more that my work expands here, you know. So we also have to find out in your life where you're holding on to that attachment that's showing up in your voice, in your speaking, in your message.
Right.
Because that's where the sneakiness comes in.
Yes, good. That's beautiful, Jen. Thank you. It reminds me of a director a long time ago that says, never walk into an audition, a performance, or a speaking gig hungry for that. I need something, because we can spot it immediately, and it does. It really puts up a block between us, between that energy exchange that needs to happen. You said
nobody wants to feel responsible for you.
Yeah, right.
Nobody wants to feel responsible for feeding you.
Yes.
And it's a drain on that energetic connection, and it's a drain on your audience.
Right.
And they can see it in the energy that you put into things, and in your eyes, and in your vibration, even if they don't have those words for it.
Right.
You know, but we're also conscious of energy, whether we realize it or not.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. You talked about intention. And so this is where I feel like it brings us so beautifully to your book that you have crafted. And when I think of, for me, your book is called The Little Book of Prayer. A Little Book of Prayer. Thank you, Jen. And I think of intention as prayer. I think of as, communication as prayer. I think of as sitting in meditation as prayer. Just that connection to my higher power, to my higher consciousness, to the divine as prayer. And so tell us a little bit about how this book was born.
It was born because as things happen, I'm a master prayer writer, so I would write prayers for clients to help focus and help really understand what they wanted, and help understand, where they're utilizing their power, and to see, oh, wait, that's what I really want, but I can't connect with that because there's something in the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were writing me back like, oh my God, here's all the amazing things that happened.
Wow.
And then I started looking at all the prayers that I write on a daily basis, and the prayers I use for myself. And I'm like, there's a more powerful way here to pray or praise.
Great.
prayer is the answer, meaning it is your way of directing your relationship and what you want to put out into the world, and to seeing where you're not in alignment with that. And I went through all my prayers, and I'm like, oh my God, so I keep praying about the same thing. Oh my God, so I keep writing it, like, okay, so here are 20 theme prayers where we're all praying about the same thing, so why don't we focus that in a more conscious way? And I was kind of talking about this, and as things go, there are people that show up in your life that kind of give you the nudge.
Good.
And my friend Regina said, so when's that book coming out? I go, what's that? She goes, that book of prayers. And I went, huh? I'm like, okay. And so I started compiling it. And I remember the day where I got the proof back from the editor. And I was going through, I was reading all of them. Because, checking, they go, no, that's a mistake, or,
Right.
And at the end of the day, I was like, why are all these new people contacting me? I'm like, because I spent 2 hours praying. Okay.
I love that.
Okay, I'm seeing where this is going, right?
Great.
And so it allows people to have a platform to focus, to be personal, to praise instead of praying from a place of lack, which we often do. We often pray when there's a challenge, or, oh my God, please help me. And that's what I call my higher power, instead of going, okay, we know that the answer's here. We know the answer's with that higher being or energy. Let's focus it. Let's determine what we want to do with it. Let's determine where we're not in alignment with that. And that's how the book came about. Awesome. And, I keep hearing stories about, I was feeling this way, and I flipped open the book, and I read Prayer 13, and I have to look it up because I don't know what Prayer 13 is.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, it was like spot on. It just filled me with the knowing of everything's going to be okay, or it answered the question that was in my head. And so I'm lucky. I'm lucky to have been so connected in that process to craft something that people are resonating with. It's really, I'm full of gratitude, and I'm a little speechless about it. And I'm a little, humble and a little, blushing about it. So that's how it all came about.
Very beautiful. When you talk about these themes, like reoccurring themes, so if I was to pick up the book and flip through it, what did you find were those some of the the top 5 reoccurring things that people are struggling with?
Health, relationship, money, feeling alone, feeling unsupported.
Okay.
Those are feeling not at peace, feeling confused. Those are really big things. I remember being at a festival with my sister-in-law, and they had this psychic, because I'm a master intuitive, right? They had the psychic with the little booth in the chair, and the line was around the thing. And I went, okay, so here are the 3 questions everyone's going to ask. How can I get more money? What about my relationship, and what about my health? Those are huge things. And, when we're in those survival mode kind of thing, it's hard to connect.
Right.
I once heard that God, when you're in really a lot of fear, God could come down and sit next to you, and you wouldn't be able to hear God. And so those are some pretty big things. And then when you create that pause, that brief of, okay, I can just move for a second out of the fear cycle, so I have a space to listen and connect. Right. That's where magic happens. That's where the universe, God, tree, Bob, whatever you want to call it, can sit in and support you, because it's already always there. We just sometimes don't have the opportunity in ourselves to reach out our hands. So those are some pretty big things, and I think they're going to be big things for as long as humans exist, because that's our growing edge. That's how we choose to be closer to the knowing that we're whole and complete.
Right, definitely. When you were talking about, there's kind of a mentality, unfortunately, among, I think, artists, and I don't like to kind of stereotype in that way, but we have the phrase, the starving artist, for a reason, because there is that victim thing that kind of happens within us, that lack. And what I love about what you're offering for those that, and you don't have to be an artist to come from that, but I think there is that thing that it's me against the world, poor me. But you're giving us a way to step out of praying or connecting as a victim and that lack, and giving us a guide to really craft our words, because we're words people, we're communication people, we're connection people, and we desperately want it. But I think we do undermine our own spotlight, stepping into that spotlight and thriving because of how we're crafting those words together and putting those underlying beliefs. We're giving them a lot more attention than I think we need. And I think it sounds like with your book and having these intention, these prayers, these praises, you're giving us a guidebook, a map on how to really shift that. Would you mind, Jen? I would love for you to read to us a prayer. Do you have the prayer of everything?
I do. I have to put on my glasses.
It reminds me of like everything bagel. It makes me, I get excited and it sounds really yummy. Okay.
This is the prayer that I read every day.
Okay.
And I read it because I was like, okay, so I need an overall prayer because sometimes I don't know what the hell's going on in my life, right?
Mm.
And so this is kind of okay, let's connect, let's regain, let's see where the forks are. And I just want to flip to the starving artist, for one moment.
Okay.
I think that occurs because we're so used to connecting with people through pain instead of joy.
Okay, right.
Right? Well, it just is Academy Awards, right? It's so rare that you see an Academy Award winner for a comedy, right?
Mm.
So, there's a way to still connect with someone on that level without having to sacrifice your own sustainability. And that's something that you can start going, okay, how do I start that internally? So this prayer will help with that.
Great, thank you.
It's called the prayer of everything. Everything today contributes and adds to my life purpose and my life force. Everything today contributes to my manifestation of wealth and love. I am willing and able to free connections that no longer serve me and my higher good. It is my intention and attention to connect with the divine and be a counselor of divine love and grace. I set the intention and attention to be in a state of grace in time and space for healing to take place and wisdom to grow and abundance and love to flow. My life is harmonious.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's beautiful.
You're so welcome. And a state of grace is defined as in favor of God, which we are all in favor of.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, that's so delicious. Thank you. What if, because, I'm always like, oh, what if we have resistance to prayer? Jen, what do we do? What if being quiet like that is really hard?
Yeah, I'm a warrior. They go meditate, and I go, no, totally not. You want me to sit still for 20 minutes? No. So, start to, pick a line from that prayer. And as you're moving, or any line that resonates with you, as you're moving throughout your day, just tune into what that means. Tune into how you feel about it.
Great.
And so here's the thing. With renegade energy, we have to create a sacred practice that works with us. A, we don't like to be told what to do.
Right.
And B, we get bored really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever starts to work with you, let's craft it so it works.
Right.
And create a sacred practice and create praise or prayer that works with who you are.
Great.
You do not have to fit your little shining, huge shining big star in this little tiny box.
Right.
And every time you go to do that, you're actually shrinking your career. So,
sure.
Find an affirmation, find a line that supports, and as you're moving, or sing it, or write it, or do your craft around it. Say it in different words, say it with different accents.
That'd be fun.
Right? Start to embrace it and start to see what it means to you.
Great.
It doesn't have to be formal.
Perfect. Find the easiest way in, the softest way in, the most authentic and natural way in. Beautiful. So, if we're over that resistance of prayer, how do we craft our own prayer? If I want a pre-performance prayer or a pre-speaking gig prayer, how do I go about it? What should I do?
So there's several parts to a prayer, and I do have a sheet that I can send everyone if they want to do soullanguage.us/power of prayer.
Awesome.
And I will send it to you. So the first part is kind of to declare what that bigger thing is, right? To make that whole kind of, okay, there's something big up, right? And the second part is to go, okay, because I'm on this planet, I am aligned with that. Like, what that bigger thing is already inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
So what's true for that bigger thing is true for me, right? So the connection part. And then the third part is to state what you want, right? So today I'm so excited that I am, that I find an audience, which is one of my favorites, that I find an audience wherever I go, right? And then the fourth part is to be grateful. And we often do drive-by gratitude. Thanks so much for that, but I didn't get that. So this is your chance to go, okay, I am so grateful that I get to be this amazing actor, this amazing singer, or I get to speak, or I'm so grateful that, that I got up this morning and really kind of be in that gratitude instead of kind of doing it from the sidelines.
Great.
And then the fourth part is to let it all go. Not to let it all go and never say it again, but to let it go of all of the trying to figure out how it's all going to take place. Yeah. Because guess what? You're not up to that. Your part is just to do the next action. Right. And we often try to control it, and that death grip of control shrinks everything. So when you let it go, you go, okay, I'm letting go of attachment. I'm going to believe that this is going to take shape. Let's just see how it's going to take shape and see what my part is. And one of your parts is to keep repeating the prayer until it manifests. When I was told that, I was like, what? Wait, I got to keep doing that? Like, that didn't even, occur to me. And that's where you get to tweak it. You get to see where you're out of alignment things and change your work here and there. Right. And change your emotional state. And so you pray until our pictures are manifest.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It can't help it. It just aligns so much with how the voice works. How we take in that divine breath, how we can't do drive-by gratitude, how we have to surrender what we're giving over. I mean, so much of it, Jen. That's beautiful. And I love the integration of bringing all that together and how we're sharing ourselves in the world.
I do too. And what's really cool is, if you sing it, you're going to find out just by your voice alone where you're not connected.
Right.
And then you can use actually the voice to tweak the inner belief as well, which is kind of cool.
Oh, it's incredible because it so much is about what the mindset or the spiritual work that we bring to our craft, and then how I've told you this before, that quote by Roy Hart saying the voice is, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget it now, but it's the soul. It's the embodiment of the soul, the voice does. And I think we do all this work that you're suggesting on that level, just upping our game and really being connected and not being hungry for that affirmation coming back. I mean, I feel like lots of shifts are going to happen because of what you have shared with us and the tools that you've given us. I mean, you think about the confidence element and the embracing the fear and using that to go deeper and crafting our own prayers. I'm going to do that, but I'm also you're going to be my accountability buddy for this, but I am going to read that everything prayer and really embrace that intention and attention and embrace all those things. I love it. And I adore you. And I want everybody to have this book. It really sounds very special. It's like you really are giving us tools to really up our prayer awareness, right? To move from the victim prayer to the really celebration connection prayer.
Anytime you're in victim, you're always going to be behind the eight ball. Right, so let's move about, and you don't have to be 100% good, at this. You just have to be 51%. You just have to tilt the scale, right?
Yeah, right.
So let's get you to 51%, and I'm so grateful for you. You know how much I adore you. You're one of the few people that I actually let my hair down, and you see how vulnerable I am. Right. So thank you.
Sure.
A deep honor.
Thanks, Jen. How can people find you? How can they find this book? Please tell us, and I'll put links as well. So
the book is on Amazon, so you can look it up by my name, which is Jennifer Urezzio, A Little Book of Prayers.
Okay.
You can find me at soullanguage.us.
Okay.
And you can find the Power of Prayer at soullanguage.us/Power of Prayer.
Awesome. And I'll put all those links right below in the video so people can just click on them and go right to them, Jen. Jen, thank you so much. This has been really beautiful and powerful, and I'm excited to see how this conversation can shift things for the people that listen to it. So thank you so much. Big hugs to you. My day is better already.
Mine is too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you everyone for watching today and for tuning in here to Rejoice in Your Voice Masterclass. I'm Tricia Pine, and until next time, always rejoice in your voice. Bye-bye.